Don't ever buy cheap makeup from the Wish app. I used to be a beauty junkie. I amassed an expensive collection over the years because I loved it all. Lipsticks, gloss, liners, blush, foundation, BB creams, moisturizers, masks, at-home peels, and even wrinkle creams. Don't judge me, prevention is the best defense, after all. But what I loved most was eyeshadow. Palettes and pots, shimmers and mattes, glitter formulas and silky creams. I adored and wanted it all. Unfortunately, good eyeshadow isn't cheap. I mean, sure, you can hit up the supermarket for discounted Wet n Wild, and to be fair, their formula has improved in recent years, but that wasn't good enough. See, I wasn't just a makeup addict, I was an expensive makeup addict. There's no comparison between luxury brands and drugstore fodder. I got my hopes up with Carity a while back, but it just doesn't hold a candle to Chanel or NARS or even Kat Von D. Even luxury brands have their drawbacks, though, and no matter how I tried, I just couldn't find the perfect eyeshadow. Until last Christmas, when I found the holy grail of eyeshadow. Well, rather, my boyfriend did. He gifted me an eye-wateringly expensive Pat McGrath set last December. Specifically, the Mothership 1 Subliminal palette. It was absolutely stunning. A lacquered case with a beveled mirror and 12 jaw-dropping eyeshadows. Blinding metallics, deep mattes, and the crown jewel of the palette, a vibrant, futuristic dark blue. It looked like someone had distilled the very essence of Blade Runner, of science fiction itself, and turned it into makeup. It was everything I wanted. The shadows applied and blended like a dream, maintaining an almost ethereal vibrancy throughout the day. It was utterly perfect. Naturally, that palette birthed an obsession, one I couldn't indulge. I lived paycheck to paycheck, so not even because of irresponsible behavior. I lost the genetic lottery in terms of health. Medical bills are my burden and bane. So this means money is really tight, with no prospect of improvement. So there was no way I could drop $125 on more eyeshadow. I had to satisfy myself with what I had. Except I wasn't satisfied. I couldn't be satisfied. I thought about the other Mothership palettes constantly, whiling away my scant spare time with daydreams of duochromes and smoky jewel tones. Now, I'm a realistic person. If something sounds too good to be true, it generally is. This is especially true for discounted goods from online sellers. There's no way you're getting a Louis handbag or MacBook for 95% off MSRP. That goes for high-end makeup too. But here's the thing about obsessions. It makes you do crazy things. It changes the way you think and behave to the point where you try to rewrite reality itself. And my obsession with these palettes just wouldn't go away. I kept wondering how one might obtain bargain pricing. Group buys? Super secret squirrels coupon clubs? I looked far and wide. Inevitably, every search for cheap designer makeup, discounted Mothership, and Pat McGrath clearance led to Wish, eBay, and AliExpress. Wish had a particularly tantalizing deal. All 4 Mothership palettes bundled together for $45 plus shipping. To put this in perspective, it would cost $475 to buy them all from Sephora. I knew it was too good to be true, but the price point was just high enough to convince me it was legit. Maybe it was cheap due to damaged packaging or incorrect labeling. Maybe I'd lucked out and it was just regular old overstock. I checked the listing reviews, only 4, but uniformly positive, and studied the photos. They were clearly stolen from the Pat McGrath website, but I decided to believe otherwise. That obsession thing, you know. I took the plunge and dropped $58. In case you don't know, Wish delivery takes forever. My bundle wasn't any exception. Days stretched endlessly into weeks, which turned into torturously long months. And then, one sunny Saturday, they arrived in a partially crushed cardboard box with dual labels in English and Chinese. It turns out that my painful anticipation was the best part of the whole deal. The second I opened the box, disappointment crushed me. The outer cardboard shells looked authentic enough, but the case, which was supposed to be heavy and luxurious, was made of cheap plastic. The colors were a joke. No shimmering duochromes or smoky jewel tones here. Flat mattes and uninspired glitter shades sat before me in their stupid, crappy plastic. I'll admit it, I cried a little. But anger quickly replaced heartbreak, and I demanded a refund from Wish. The photos on the listing did not accurately portray what I received, so I got my money back immediately. In somewhat better spirits, I decided to play around with my new makeup. It wasn't what I wanted, not even close, but now that I had it, for free no less, it made sense to check it out. Surprisingly, the colors swatched well. They weren't spectacular, but the pale pastels created a passable springtime palette. They blended easily and, with the exception of a few irritating grains that cropped up from time to time, glided on smoothly. I actually liked it and felt bad about the refund. The more I experimented, the more it impressed me. I even discovered a look I loved enough to wear for date night. While I loved expensive makeup, it hurt my heart to use it quickly. So, these cheap knockoff palettes became my go-to for daily wear. I wore the shadows at work, when I went out, and even around the house. It was a fun, low-stakes way to feel glamorous without depleting my premium stash. Even better, that odd graininess disappeared with use, leaving the rest of the makeup smooth and buttery. It was all going great. Until the eye infection. It developed overnight, a few weeks after the palettes arrived. Even in my dreams, I was aware of the discomfort. My face felt hot and tender. Whenever I placed the slightest pressure around my eyes, a stinging, unclean pain unfurled across my face. The pain intensified to the point that I woke up. I sat up and suddenly realized I couldn't open my eyes. I touched my face, and to my horror, I felt a thick, flaking crust of mucus around my eyelids. Blindly, I staggered to the bathroom, whimpering and knocking over pretty much everything I owned in the process. It took forever to wash the crust off. No matter how gentle I was, it hurt so badly. Even the slightest touch produced an achy sting that spread down to my nose and deep inside my sockets. As I rinsed, the swollen flesh around my eyes twitched weirdly under my hands. It didn't surprise me. I dreaded the pain each touch produced and figured my poor face was reflexively withdrawing in order to avoid even more discomfort. After a while, I was able to finally open my eyes. Strings of fresh mucus stretched between my upper and lower lids. Blinking was exquisitely painful, like every last one of my eyelashes had evolved into a hypersensitive nerve ending, and it was on fire. My eyelids were horrifically inflamed, so red they practically glowed under the bathroom light. As I watched, they continued to shift and twitch. They reminded me of shark egg exhibits, where the aquarium shines a light behind the egg sac to illuminate the developing creature within. The thought made my gorge rise. It didn't help that fresh pus and mucus were welling up around my eyelashes. I leaned in towards the mirror. I couldn't drive like this, but I couldn't afford an ambulance either. I needed to pop the eyelash zits, as it were, in order to clear my vision long enough to transport myself to the emergency room. Not going to the ER wasn't an option. The last thing I needed was for this interesting super pink eye to morph into a brain infection or something. I steeled myself, whimpering in anticipation of pain, and pressed my fingertip to my lower eyelid. The agony was sharp, overwhelming, and almost exquisite, somehow. My swollen waterline immediately expressed an impossible amount of viscous yellow pus. There was too much. It overwhelmed the small sores, quickly blocking them in glistening white buildup. With a preemptive shriek, I jammed my nail against my twitching eyelid and squealed in pain as the buildup bulged and bulged and kept on bulging. Then, with a burst of dizzying, torturous pain that radiated through my whole head, the buildup exploded out of my lower eyelid. It rose in quintuple columns and fell down across my cheek, where it all began to squirm. It took me a second to realize what I was seeing. Larvae. White, wet, wriggling larvae inching across my face. I screamed and freaked out. I continued to squeeze them out. They kept coming, rising like little bubbles from my inflamed lash line before erupting in pattern down onto my face, my chest, and my bathroom counter. Gushes of pus and watery blood, foul-smelling and far too hot, accompanied the larvae. My wailing and continual squeezing agitated them. A few squirmed free of their own volition, inching along under the thin flesh before popping up through the sores and dropping to the counter. I was too hyped up on panic, pain, and adrenaline to remember much after that. All I know is that I screamed so much, my neighbor called 911. I went to the hospital where they performed a successful extraction surgery. In addition to another 6 worms, they found several eggs embedded under my eyelid. The worms are a newly discovered species of aggressive flesh eaters. I was really lucky, because my fresh little newborns were close to the surface. They only ate a very small amount of my eyelid. I'm not the only victim either. The doctor said there had been a few over the past month. Counterfeit makeup is a suspected culprit in most cases, although one unlucky man got infected after wearing a fake designer shirt with eggs on the collar. The larvae ate their way to his spine and he nearly died. I'm actually alright now. My eyelids are a little baggy and my waterline is still pretty red, so I look a bit like a basset hound some days. My doctor thinks the discoloration will fade and the baggy skin will tighten up. If not, no biggie. I'll just get a blepharoplasty somewhere down the line. Sure, concealer and eyeliner could probably take care of it, but I'd rather go under the knife at this point. Did you know most cosmetics, on-brand, off-brand, and knockoffs are often manufactured in the same buildings? Look it up. It's true. I can't deal with it, so I'm done with makeup. Probably forever. These days, the mere thought of eyeshadow is enough to make my eye twitch. Thank you so much, Dopabean, over on Reddit. That was a disgustingly horrific story to read out loud, and I loved it. Thank you for giving me permission to read it out to everybody on YouTube. Or those who at least subscribe, watch, like, hint, hint. Yeah, I upload every Friday, except last Friday, which was Easter, and I'm so sorry that I did not upload for you, because, you know, family and stuff was more important. Yeah, I have a subreddit, sort of. I just started it, so I have no idea if you guys are interested. If you want to, you can post your horror stories. Real, fake, with proof, without proof, doesn't really matter. If you do post, that's considered real on my subreddit. So, yeah, it's reddit.com/r/littlehorrorstories. Basically, just, yeah, post your story. If it's interesting or scary enough, I'll probably read it out loud on my channel here. Because, yeah, this is what I aim for. To absolutely terrify myself while I'm terrifying you guys. If you guys have any stories about makeup that you've had incidents with, feel free to comment below. Have you ever had, you know, an eye infection that's exploded with worms? Ew. Or have you ever had, you know, a bad infection of some kind that doesn't involve worms? Have you been gypped on makeup? What's your story? Feel free to comment below. I'll probably read out some of the better ones, if there are any. And, yeah. Oh, right. In May, I want to do a bunch of camping horror stories. Doesn't matter what the encounter is, as long as you're camping when you experience it. Feel free to comment below or post it to the Our Little Horror Stories and Reddit. And yeah, like, subscribe, and I will see you later. Oh yeah, and beware the dark, because that's where the monsters are, most of the time.